Welcome to Illuminations, a program of study designed to guide you through the basic tools one needs to become a better painter. We intend to shed light on the theories, tools, and techniques that form the foundation for the expression of ideas in paint on canvas. The Mimeri Company has generously supplied their complete line of professional-grade paints, Puro oils, for this demonstration. But our discussion can be applied to any paint brand. I've placed yellow on the center peak of our triad because of its light value. As we advance around the triad, the colors will become successively darker. Where to put it? On the yellow side of blue, because it's a blue that has a small amount of yellow tendency in it. Compared to ultramarine blue, phthalo has a greenish cast, which must mean that it has a tendency toward yellow inherent in its pure pigment. So this is our first addition to our otherwise primary colored palette. Phthalo blue and Indian yellow will produce a clear, bright, intense range of greens that are very useful in painting natural foliage. Adding more ultramarine blue produces grays, beautiful grays. Painted heavily, the colors with ultramarine dominating always look black. This is a way to mix black without having it on your palette. Personally, I use black and have no prejudice against it, but if you believe that black is bad, this is a perfect substitute. Blue, alizarin, and Indian yellow. That's pretty black. In the days of the great academies, both in Europe and in the United States, art students were required as a part of their study to spend one semester-long class doing nothing but painting color swatches of every possible color combination in every tint and shade for a basic palette of 12 paints. I had the privilege of seeing the results of this endeavor years ago when I visited an elderly gentleman who had studied at the Art Institute of Chicago in the early 1920s. He had a bound book about this thick, filled with canvas pages that were covered with 1-inch squares of mixed colors. He shared with me the agony implicit in spending that much time producing the book. When we talked, he was in his 80s, and that bound volume was one of his most prized possessions. He assured me that what he learned in the process of creating that book was something that stayed with him for the rest of his life. That experience is what ultimately led me to study color in the same way. You cannot help but learn by doing it. If you want it badly enough, this is one way to get it. These charts represent a small part of the exploration of color by this method. You may take your study as far as you have the interest to do so. I can tell you from experience that once you do this, you'll have an invaluable tool at your disposal. Before I show you how to use it, though, let me show you how to paint it. This is phthalo green with more white. And I think that could be just a little bit lighter. You want to be able to see the step in value difference from one to the other. You'll continue with this for every color, and what you'll have when you're finished is a panel that represents all of the possible tints of each of these pure colors. There's no such thing as a bad color. Every hue, tint, and shade of any color is useful to someone, somewhere. There's no such thing as a muddy color. When you explore the inner circle of the color wheel, you'll find all the colors that one might consider to be muddy. Muddy is the term to apply to a color that's in the wrong place at the wrong time. It's either too light, too dark, too warm, too cool, too big or too small, or some combination of all of the above. But that's a subject for another program. Now that you have the basics of a full spectrum palette, you have the foundation to begin to discuss color in more depth. Until then, I hope you enjoy the process of painting your color panels. It's a job that will continue to reward you throughout your painting career. I guarantee it. Once you've accomplished it, you'll have a greater understanding of color and the subjects we'll cover in future programs. Enjoy painting.